You're so different. Is that a compliment? Or is it a jab? The next question is, different how? Different as something that causes division between me and you, or separates me from my neighbor, you from your coworker, or from a family member? Americans relish being unique and special. Dare I say, exceptional? We want to stand up and stand out. For most, to be uniquely exceptional is no critique. It's a badge of honor until we feel the isolation of it, until our differences become heavy weights on us. And that's when we look for unifying language and posture. We hear it in mantras like, "We're in this together," which has been used frequently during the pandemic, understandably. Or the campaign slogan, "Stronger together." Or the African proverb, "If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together." Do you know who said this? Coming together is a beginning, staying together is progress, and working together is success. Anybody? Henry Ford. The case made for togetherness has a long history in this country, despite our belief in our own distinctiveness. But what kind of togetherness are we talking about? And who gets to set the parameters for who is in and who is out, or what is in and what is out? Clearly, we have not been indiscriminately inclusive as our history with the indigenous people and people of color and immigrants with undesirable origins or people practicing other faith observances has shown us. With whom do we unite? Who truly belongs in our togetherness? Words are cheap, a former parishioner once told Rod and me. He was a dusty, bronzed farmer with bright eyes who raised range-free chickens and grass-fed beef and cultivated organic crops on his remote farm in southern Quebec in Canada. He had time to ponder, lots of it, as he chopped wood, tended his cattle, tilled the acres and acres of land. He was a thinker, an educator turned farmer, weaving his intellectual prowess together with gritty metaphors of land and sweat. Words are cheap, meaning it's easy to say something. It's really hard to live. I've never forgotten. It's easy to claim to stand up for something, up to a point. I mean, it's impractical, actually, to really drive reparations forward or give land back, isn't it? Our words express our goodwill and deep, genuine desire. I believe we truly want this. We long for people's rights to be acknowledged and restored, or rightfully granted in the first place. But everything that we call our lives vies for our attention, and we just don't get it done. Especially since being bombarded with our new COVID-era lives. It's hard to forge new paths. This unity, this talk of togetherness runs deep. Unity is fundamental to our faith within the United Church of Christ, with one of our primary scriptural foundations coming from Jesus the Christ as he prayed. I'm not praying only for them, but also for those who will believe in me later. I pray that all will be one. But we cannot go there. Not yet. Words like that, when we repeat them, can be cheap. I've said, and I've written some cheap words. Maybe you have too. Getting to the heart of what this matter of unity and oneness and togetherness is doesn't begin with words. It doesn't even begin with activism. It must go through a standstill. choosing to, or being forced to feel the weight of what was, what is, and what will be, unless we find it within ourselves to truly acknowledge who we are and where we find ourselves. Maybe that's the dissolving phase Courtney was talking about. The pandemic has offered us this pause. But most of us, myself included, we're stressing, trying to understand how to survive now, how to carry on, even if in a minimized form. We as a culture were still for about a week, maybe 2, as freeways were devoid of traffic. Remember that? Businesses were closed, restaurants were empty, no one socialized. The only thing we did was get our groceries, if that. Collectively, we spent that time scrambling to find ways to adjust, to project into a future we had no experience with or insight into. And we quickly became extremely agitated by our newly imposed isolation. We weren't equipped to think beyond our own comfort, our safety, and survival. And I get that. It was so new and so frightening. But we did not ponder what it all meant and how this could be our invitation to pull together. Rather, the situation quickly grew volatile. The ancient who's in and who's out debate morphed into who's right and who's wrong and why. Oh, it turned ugly. We solidified our allegiance into camps: political, religious, and ideological. We have religious rhetoric that says we are one, united, but truly, we aren't. The lyrics of "We Are One in the Spirit," which some of us sang at camp many summers ago, are far different from the words of "We are one. We live beneath the common sun." The mystery revealed will simply be that we are one. One set of words unites all who conform to a prescribed understanding of oneness and spirit and love. And the other recognizes humanity as a black and brown and white and southern and northern hemisphere and rich and poor and multi-belief mosaic, all of whom share 99.9% of DNA in common. Remarkable. But we try harder. We work more. We throw ourselves into initiatives to make a difference. But we always feel we come up short. Or maybe I'm just telling my story. Words are cheap. In order to truly comprehend how deep and expansive God's vision for unity and togetherness really is, we have to acknowledge that we fall short of where we would like to be, what we had hoped to be. We call this confession. Acknowledging shortcomings to ourselves, offering respect and thoughtfulness and deference to our neighbor, and exchanging pretenses for humility before God. In a time of stillness, in a time of confession, can we meditate on the text that Doug read for us? Here are words describing all-encompassing togetherness. God is the one for whom and through whom everything exists. Everything. Did you catch that? Imagine it. For those who believe humans are central to life on this planet or in creation, think again. Everything. Think cosmically. That ever-expanding universe. Every breed in the animal world. Every sea creature. And that means a whole lot more to a scuba diver than it does to me. Every molecule of air and every drop in the ocean. This finely tuned planet we live on, where a 1.5 degree Fahrenheit increase in sea temperatures has unprecedented effects. All of that reflects the cosmic design, which continues to stun scientists and lay people alike. God, for whom and through whom everything exists. This God who is intimately connected with the universe in all of its connected complexity is not a distant entity, though. God's presence in creation as well as in relationship is undeniable. Jesus the Christ, who is referenced in this text as being the pioneer of salvation, deeply identifies with the many sons and daughters who come from one source. That identification includes universal suffering. It seems this suffering includes creation, and we can see that this morning. Our air is smoke-filled. That suffering includes humanity, and I believe it includes divinity as well. If our eyes are open, we are getting a glimpse of what that suffering is on a global level. These global sons and daughters are intimately linked to the divine through Jesus the Christ. The text states, the one who makes people holy and the people who are being made holy all come from one source. That's so remarkable because that means the flow of divinity goes through everyone. And since the earlier portion of this text includes the natural world, the divine spark is in everything. And if that weren't enough, the natural outcome of all of this is that Jesus isn't ashamed to call us brother and sister. Imagine that. Jesus is proud to be our brother. I don't know of anyone who's not had feelings of, I hope they don't embarrass me, or I hope they aren't embarrassed by me. Regardless of our education, our status, our privileged existence, there's at least a little grain of self-doubt in every human. But here you have it. Jesus isn't embarrassed by me, not by you, not by your annoying family member, nor by those outrageously thoughtless people whom I have difficulty even tolerating. That's inclusivity. That's togetherness I haven't even come close to realizing yet. And yes, I am not a butterfly, Courtney. Still in that bug soup stage. We live as passionate human beings, but even all of that passion is not anything compared to God's demonstration of extravagant inclusion. Words are cheap, and yet they aren't rejected. We aren't rejected. God isn't intimidated by us or by anything. Now, there's much more to this than nebulous theory. God's radical inclusion unites every human. God considers this troubled planet we live on as sacred. And he calls us to be mindful of all other forms of life that we share this planet with. Very quickly, our finite minds run into limitations, but we are wholly together. I hope that begins to shed just a little bit of light on what kind of togetherness we're talking about, and who sets the parameters for who's in and who's out, and what's in and what's out. If Jesus isn't ashamed to call people, all people, brothers and sisters, then what does that say to me? Who are the people you and I think are doing and have done shameful things? People we could never include. And if everything exists for and through God, the natural world, indeed the entire cosmos, is an embodiment of God. Franciscan Father Richard Rohr writes, when you don't recognize that the Christ mystery is universal, that God is present in and is saving all of creation, you can choose what to respect and what you disrespect, what you love and what you hate, end quote. Or you and I can choose whom to be ashamed of. It happens easily when we don't recognize the universal nature of the Christ. We are different, yet we are all connected. We represent different species with different functions, but we are all connected. It's a cosmic reality. Our beliefs can be libertarian, maximizing autonomy, idealizing individualism, and we can fight against this universal connection as much as we want, but it is not possible to disengage. We are completely connected through a shared DNA and the cosmic dust that inhabits every particle of this universe. What I do impacts me, and it impacts you. Even the animal and plant world. It will continue to impact future generations, the condition of our planet, what our life looks like 100, 200, 500 years from now. If we consider everything as sacred, our minds will be wildly expanded and our spirits eventually humbled. It's important to me to remind myself of this frequently, given the fact that hostilities and estrangement is rampant. Rage toward other human beings, especially those with differing ideologies, is rising. And we have a hard time realizing we will never convince one another to prescribe to our definition of right. That's not the point. The goal is to learn what it means to be connected despite our strongly held beliefs, to see everyone and everything as having a shared origin and an important contribution to make. As EJ already mentioned yesterday, some of us were at the memorial service of our dear friend and brother John Donaldson. We were again reminded of John's ability to welcome and hold diversity, always looking for ways to include and to unify. It's a profound legacy that he leaves. In our call to celebration earlier this morning, we prayed, "May my heart be as your heart. May my mind be as your mind." Only when this prayer takes hold of us can we confront our present and our past. The fury we feel when people seem so self-centered. The agony we feel when we consider past and current generations of exploitation and plunder. Only then can we become mindful of our holy togetherness. In a time when unity seems naive and unrealistic, we cannot stray from this calling to pray for the unity as Christ did just before he was executed. Like he said, "I pray they will be one." And I can't imagine he didn't have an inkling of how divisive we would all become. This is our opportunity to stop going through the motions, to make significant decisions, and to begin or to continue living intentionally, mindfully, deliberately. This mindfulness can find expression in looking into the eyes of our children, our grandchildren, our students, with love and acceptance. Masks don't hinder eye contact. You can honor all those who contribute to our meals: plants, animals, growers, harvesters, transporters, merchants, cooks. Each one is vital and God's beloved. You can notice, be aware of songbirds on your morning walks, plants moving through the cycles of the seasons, the way the people you meet walk. Are they dejected? Are they in pain? Are they joyful? Take note. Check your response when someone cuts you off in traffic or simply drives like, well, you know what I'm talking about. Well, actually, I'm talking to myself. I need to be intentionally practicing compassion. And when your automatic thought response to hearing from someone or not hearing from someone kicks in, stop. Deliberately choose to consider that person as someone Jesus is not ashamed to identify with. And then there are the very simple things. You can run as little water as possible while brushing your teeth or showering. You can choose to adjust the AC and, I think, soon the heat, just to conserve. Your bank account and this planet will thank you. You think those tiny things don't make a difference? They do. And if only that you become someone who takes life on the planet, our life of whole togetherness, seriously. It changes us. Living wholly together is a discipline. It begins with choosing to be okay with different. It's a practice. It's a new tonic we can invest in for ourselves and for the benefit of everything and everyone around us. We are wholly united, wholly together through Jesus the Christ.